This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, here we go again for Village of Ashwaubenon Public Works and Protection meeting on Tuesday, May 3 of 2022. Roll call, young lady.
Gary Paul,
Here.
John Burnett,
Here.
John Euclid. Here. Kelly Service.
Here.
And Jake Figures excused.
Very good. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Need a motion on the action on the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action on the minutes from April 12th, 2022. Any corrections or additions?
Move to approve.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Comments from the public must be limited to the items not on the agenda. State name and address, limited to 5 minutes. Board rule is to listen and not discuss the item. Personal issues cannot be discussed, nor individual names said. Board is not able to take action on this meeting. Everybody, any comments from the public? Everybody here for a reason. Looks like everybody's got something in their hand wanting to say something. Okay, we have no public comments. Go to action items. Action item 7A, action on liquor license premise extension for Valen Hospitality doing LLC, doing business as Parker John's Barbecue and Pizza. What do we... Chris, you're on it. I got to turn my page here. Chris, you're on the pulpit right now.
Okay, so Valen Hospitality LLC, doing business as Parker John's Barbecue and Pizza, turned in their renewal application. So with a different premise, looking for an extension. So I pulled it off of the list of all the renewals because this needs to be approved separately. They are on video, so they can answer any questions you have. And they are constructing a 2,632 square foot outside patio. All paperwork and corresponding fee has been filed.
Did I hear the word different premise?
Yes, so when renewals come in during this time, I compare last year's to this year's. And they also mark on their renewal, you know, that they're changing the premise. So what they're doing is adding on, extending it, but it's permanent. It's a patio.
Okay, and this is an extension to the license that they are holding right now? Or?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, so they're looking for an extension. Okay, any comments? If there's no comments, I'll obtain a motion here.
Move to approve.
The first,
I'll second.
John will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Action item B, action on denial of operator's license. Jalen Fran?
So
Chris?
I just found out from a coworker of Jaden's that she's out of town. So I'm going to just hand it over to the chief.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
I will just kind of give you my thoughts on this. Obviously, the reason for denial was pending OWI charge this year. Matter of fact, it was March of this year. I did review her letter that she wrote to you, And in that letter, I was just a little inconsistencies I wanted to point out. She wrote in there that she's never been a person who gets in trouble, especially with stuff alcohol related, and yet she had a underage drinking citation in 2019. The other issue that I was looking at is I was fortunate to be able to not only review her letter, but also read the report of the incident. She says that she doesn't own a car. And so I was going to ask her if that's normally the case and she doesn't drive, then what decision, by her was made? Because apparently she came from Janesville, her and her boyfriend came from Janesville, apparently stopped drinking at 7 o'clock in the evening, and yet at 1 in the morning, she gets pulled over for speeding, arrested for OWI, and is still intoxicated. So I was going to ask her what decision-making process went in, because if it's not her car, and she's intoxicated, then why the decision to drive? It sounds like from reading this, maybe her boyfriend was intoxicated too. So I can't speculate on what that decision was, but part of the process that goes into this is we all know that when we approve these, not only do they get licensed for the place they're working, but they can also go other places and get licenses and work as a bartender. So we want people who make good decisions. And those are the issues that I've seen here just looking at this. But again, my denial was obviously based on the OWI conviction that is still pending.
Okay, yeah, I read this letter. I had some inline thoughts on what she's saying here also. I don't know. It's up to us to
What was
make the
her
decision.
blood alcohol?
Well, that's still pending. They did do a PBT on her, and she was well over the legal limit. I don't want to disclose that as part of the records, but she was well over the limit.
What happens if she is convicted of that? Like, does she have to blow into a thing and go to a class?
So all the agencies in this area, they do a blood test. So they go to the hospital, they take blood, and then that goes into the chemical lab, and then they analyze it from there. So when that analysis is done, it comes back and then is part of the record. I don't see that there yet.
What has the village done in the past when you have a situation like this where a person's license is at risk because of a OWI?
Well, I always follow the guidelines that we've set up with the committee. Part of those guidelines, obviously, is if you have a conviction that's alcohol related, less than 2 years, it's an automatic denial. It's certainly up to you guys to decide whether or not you want to uphold that, or if you want to grant her a license based on her letter here, I guess, since she's not here. But usually you have a conversation with her, try to determine what her reasonings are and what her thought processes is, and then you guys make that decision. So, Patrick, did you want to say something?
Kelly, I was just going to kind of branch off of your question you had earlier. What happens if convicted? You kind of mentioned blowing into something to start the car. It really would depend on the conviction itself. So if an individual is convicted of OWI and the blood alcohol content comes back above a 0.15, then that individual has to have the IID in their vehicle for over a year. So it's really kind of, as the chief said, it's determining what the blood alcohol content was. And at this point, we just don't know yet.
Okay.
So it remains pending. I guess to also fill in, I think her initial appearance, when I looked it up, is mid-May, I think, in court.
Most of the time when we had somebody come in front of us with a denial, they were naturally in front of us, but they were here in person.
Yeah,
She didn't even come here in person to
right,
try
that's a big one.
and convince us that, I did something wrong, I'm sorry, go through the hoops and whatever else. So it's up to you what you want to do. But I got to commend the safety officers and all involved in this. They do a good job on investigating this. So I go by their word, and it's up to us to say yes or no. So I think we can come up with a motion on this.
I'm going to make a motion that we uphold the denial of this operator's license for Jaden H. Frame.
Yeah, I got that.
I'll second it.
You'll do a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This will go to the village board on the 24th of this month. Thanks, Terry. Chris, I'm sorry, I got lost in this paperwork following you. Now I'm on page letter C here for the next one, which we're all aware of, action on renewal of the Class B liquor license, Class B beer, Class B liquor license for Kohler, doing business as Lodge Kohler. Chris, you're up. Oh, did I jump one? All right,
Yeah, Gary, I think we're going to move on to it's action item C, which is
all right,
the Class B for
D.
Grand Central Station, LLC, DBA,
There you go.
Famous Dave's.
Okay.
And I can kind of fill you in this one, committee. This is more of just kind of an FYI. We received information from Famous Dave's that there's a possibility of either one trying to reopen. I think there's been some difficulty reopening with the pandemic. So there's a possibility of Famous Dave's reopening or selling the property as is with the alcohol license attached. Obviously, it's more enticing to buying the restaurant or the premise with the alcohol license. So that is, you can sell the property with the alcohol license subject to approval from the village itself. But we brought this forward just more of an FYI to indicate that as of right now, it's non-operational, and more of an FYI for the board and the committee and Famous Days itself that a non-operational license within 90 days is subject to either non-renewal or revocation. So there is a possibility of non-renewal based on it not being operational for 90 days. We don't have any concerns as a staff for not renewing the liquor license, but we just brought this forward as to indicate that it's also subject to revocation if it's not operating. So it's more we can see where it goes after it's being licensed. If it's approved for renewal, in the 90 days it can come back and take another, can see again where it is. And if it's still not operational, there's no progress made by Famous Dave's to either sell the property or reopen, the village can take action at that time. So there is not too much of a concern, but there are options going forward if the license is renewed.
Okay.
Oh, and I believe there's also somebody here to speak on that behalf.
Mr. Pampern, would you like to step up, state your name and address?
Sure. Dan Pampern, 1275 Glory Road. So it is still franchised as a Famous Dave's. They allowed us, I don't know if you'd call it a suspension or 18 months of allowing it to just sit there until we decide what to do with it. In August, at the end of August, so the first part of September, we did list the property as a restaurant and as a Famous Dave's. That listing is 1 year. Famous Dave's suspension, or let's say recess of their franchise, is October of this year. So I guess I've been quite busy the last 6 months with other business items. So I think probably by October, we'll have a decision on whether we're going to reopen it or possibly it might be sold by then. I can tell the committee right now, we do not have any qualified leads on selling the property right now as a Famous Dave's. So at some point, we're going to have to make a decision on whether we're just going to not ever reopen it, because we owe that to the Famous Dave franchisors, and then take down the signs, obvious, because, I mean, all we did when we ran into the pandemic deal last spring was just turn the key in the door. So we can turn the key in the door, put alcohol and food in there, and it can be operational in probably 4 or 5 days. So I'm here to tell you, we have not made a decision one way or the other on what to do with it. We would like the option of either selling it as a Famous Dave's or possibly reopening it.
It could open up if it's as something else also.
Well, it could, I guess, I'm not so sure. I would reopen it as a Famous Dave's. I may reopen it as something else. I built it as a Tony Roma's,
Right.
sold it, got it back, did the Famous Dave's on a whim, and then, of course, the pandemic came 11 months after we opened it. The real reason I closed it was I was having health issues. We had no manager in the place, and I had other responsibilities in our other side of our company. So I just closed it and asked Famous Dave's for a period of time to just make a decision on it.
So it still is classified as Famous Dave's yet, with
Yeah.
that franchise?
Yeah.
So you just want an extension on the liquor license so that it makes it more sellable then?
Sure. I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, we are just now closing out the rest of, obviously we sold most of our company. So we are just now closing out that part. So I guess, in the next month or so, I'm going to have to visit on what we're really going to do with that site.
Okay.
I'm not making any commitments that we're going to open it. Obvious help is still a very
Help is
big
an
issue.
True.
So,
Okay. Any other questions for Dan? Okay. Anybody care to make a motion on what he's looking for?
Motion to approve it.
Okay, motion from John,
Second.
second from Kelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Now on to D. Action on renewal of Class B beer, Class B liquor license for Lodge Kohler doing businesses, Lodge Kohler. Patrick, again.
Actually, I'm going to take this first, if you don't mind. Just going to give you a little bit of insight when I was reviewing this. And I want to let you know that the reason for my denial on this was strictly based on our guidelines. And our guidelines say that this applies to, the applications applies to not only the operators, agents, but officers and members, and et cetera, it says. So of course, there was a issue with this application where there was an OWI conviction in 2021. So that is, again, on our guidelines, less than 2 years. So that is the sole purpose for my recommendation, and that's all it is a recommendation of denial. In reading the letter that was written to the village, she indicates, Ms. Black indicates that yes, she is the director and is an off-site director and really has no involvement in the procurement of alcohol purchasing sales. But when I review that, obviously I don't have that information, nor based on our guidelines does that necessarily apply. So just wanted to give you some insight as to the reasons why my recommendation was a denial based on our guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
I'll kind of jump in here as well on this one. So as the chief said, there's a recommendation for denial based on the standards and protocols for an alcohol-related license. So under the statutes, if there's maybe a board member of an LLC, or in this case, a director of the board with a recent conviction for an alcohol-related offense, that's justification for non-renewal. So that's what the chief was indicating based on the village's standards for the alcohol-related offense. That's why there's a recommendation for non-renewal. So the option before you tonight is essentially to non-renew or renew. So if this license, or if it's non-renewed, the recommendation will go before the board, certainly. And then after that, if it's non-renewed at the board, then we can kind of come back, we will come back for what's called a quasi-judicial hearing. At that point, we'll be in the room again, and we'll have evidence and testimony and questions and things like that. And the committee will operate kind of as a judiciary function. And we'll hear kind of evidence based on the board's denial of renewing the license. So that's the option of non-renewing. to renew, despite the chief's or public safety's recommendation, the committee has the option certainly of renewing based on mitigating circumstances. So mitigating circumstances in this case would essentially be, you could look at the applicant itself, any prior offenses since this, the age of the applicant, has the applicant, well, I should say in this case, the director, the actual person in violation of the license, and what is basically how long it's been, have they served their punishment, have they served the time, the sentence, and then also mitigating circumstances relating to Lodge Kohler itself. My understanding is that there really isn't any alcohol-related issues with Lodge Kohler itself. Run a pretty tight ship, I believe, regarding that. I don't think there's anything outstanding for alcohol-related offenses or convictions for the actual premise. Another mitigating circumstance, I guess, would be in this situation, the actual director's involvement with Lodge Kohler, the actual building, and her involvement with alcohol. I know there are several, there's a couple people here that will kind of address that and answer more specific questions like that. But I just want to show the committee that there are the two options here regarding the non-renewal versus the renewal of this premise. So if there's any other questions regarding the legality purposes behind that, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll kind of pass it over to the applicants.
Okay, anybody got questions up here? No? Would you care to come up and talk? Name and address, please, for the records.
Good evening, thank you. Steve Westfall, I'm one of the senior in-house attorneys at Kohler Company, which is 444 Highland Drive, Kohler, Wisconsin, 53044. And with me, I have Christine Luce. She is the registered agent for Lodge Kohler. She is also the director of our Wisconsin hospitality operations, which includes Lodge Kohler. And in a moment, she'll have an opportunity to tell you in as much detail and as many questions you would like about the process and the procedures that we implement and take care or enforce with regards to the serving, the selling, the storage of liquor on our premises, not only here in Lodge Kohler, but also anywhere in our Wisconsin facilities. Our director, Ms. Black, submitted a letter to you. It is an unfortunate incident. I think her letter speaks for itself. She is, as the letter indicates, she is a director of Kohler Co., but she has absolutely no involvement with the day-to-day operations of our hospitality operations, and more specifically, and maybe more relevant, is our Lodge Kohler operations. So although she is a director that is of a very large company, she does not deal with the day-to-day operations.
Thanks, Steve. So as he said, I'm Christine Luce, Vice President of Lodging and Wellness for the Kohler Company Hospitality. And I just want to start by thanking you for your time tonight and letting you know, Mary just reminded me, it's been 5 years since we opened Lodge Kohler, that we really do value our relationship with the business community, the village, and its residents. We've been in the hospitality business since 1979 and have always taken the obligation and responsibility of seriously of serving alcohol to our guests. And there's nothing different at Lodge Kohler. We take it as seriously here. All of our associates that partake in the serving and selling of alcohol go through what is called Safe Serve Training upon hire. It's an online course that they take to learn the do's and don'ts of serving alcohol. And then on a yearly basis, they are recertified. So that's one action that occurs. We have 4 specific, what we call SOPs, standard operating procedures that apply to all of our hospitality locations, including Lodge Kohler. How to spot a fake ID, how to card a guest, how to spot intoxicated guests, and then most importantly, how to stop serving intoxicated guests and then de-escalate the situation. Since opening Lodge Kohler, we've added an overnight security officer on premise 5 nights a week. They work the busiest nights of the week, and he is there to help us should there be any reasons for us to stop serving a guest and ensure that we have a graceful de-escalation of the situation. And then on the other 2 nights, and and generally in all cases, we do partner with the Titletown security team. So they've been there to support us as well as the local law enforcement. And then I would just state last and finally that what Steve has shared is that Natalie Black is not involved in any form of operations in any part of hospitality. So thank you.
Okay, any questions for them? I think as they stated, we can deny, we can approve, or we can send it to the village board and get a final there, which this will go to the village board anyway, am I right?
The recommendation would go to village board, the denial or approval.
So, if we don't have any more questions, I think you explained it quite well to us on what your procedures are, which I know you do run a clean operation. If there are no other questions, somebody want to make a motion here?
I feel like the rule was probably made so we could have a chance to make sure the people of Ashwaubenon are safe. You know, if there's some sort of a violation or something. I think in this situation, she's so far removed from the operations here. I don't feel like anybody in the village is at risk if we approve their renewal of their liquor license. So I'm going to move that we approve the renewal of the liquor license for Lodge Kohler.
I'll
Okay.
second.
You got a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And again, I'll say this will go to the village board on the 24th of this month is our village board meeting, so. Thank you very much for showing up and giving your presentation.
We appreciate your time. Thanks.
All right, action item number 7. Am I doing it right, Terry? Yep. Action on 2223 retail liquor license renewal. Chris?
Attached is the listing of all liquor license renewal applications received by the Office of the Clerk for the 2022-2023 listing period. I just want you to know this is just a partial. There'll be another batch coming next month. Public Works and Protection approval recommendation to the Village Board of Trustees must stipulate that approval for each entity is contingent upon all paperwork and corresponding fees have been received and filed accordingly, and all outstanding indebtedness to the Village of Ashwaubenon has been paid in full.
No problems with nobody is what you're saying, Chris?
Correct.
On this is not all, it's just the partial.
No, and I pulled anything that was out of the norm, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any problems. Somebody else got something?
Nope.
All right. Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We got everything taken care of there. Anything for next week or next month's agenda? If you don't have it, don't be bashful to go to the office and our staff will take care of it. If nothing else, we need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Are you sure? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're out of here.
This conference